Hey guys, it's Dan from Soileater and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today on episode 9, I'll be going over how to install our radio retention tabs into a plate carrier, more specifically into a chest rig. So just to give you some history on the radio retention tabs, the radio retention tabs I designed due to a necessity. Essentially back in 2018, I was in a foot chase wearing one of the prototypes of the Haley Strategic D3 chest rig minis. Or micros, and then during that foot chase I actually had this radio slide out because I was keeping it inside one of the 5.56 magazine wedges here, right? So basically got in a foot chase, radio was able to come out, fell to the ground, and then I was essentially dragging it with my lapel mic. Luckily I wasn't dragging it far, and I didn't do any damage to the radio. I was able to catch a suspect we were chasing, and it worked out all right. But since then, that night I came home and it was actually right around the time I first got my first sewing machine, and I'm like, you know what? That's the first product I'm gonna make. So the radio retention tabs are actually the first product I ever invented back in 2018. It got changed slightly over the years. I've made some improvements on it, but essentially what you have for the radio retention tab is hook on one side and then loop on the other with a pull tab similar to what you'd find on a magazine retainer, sometimes built into chest rigs, and then a piece of shock cord that you can adjust by tying the knot in different spots. All right, so today on this episode, we'll be going over how to install this onto, in this case, a Haley Strategic D3 chest rig mini. It also will work on a Faro concept as well as a Spiritus system, make 4, make 5, whatever you want there. So first things first, we're going to remove our placard that goes in, or I'm sorry, the insert that goes inside the front of the chest rig here. So as you can see here, it's hollow. You've got hook and loop that lines the inside. What I'm going to do is remove this. Right here I have the triple 5.56 insert with the MP2s. These are the Haley's version of the little Kydex inserts. I believe these are injection molded, but essentially all I've done is I've removed one of them from the side that I want my radio on. I would highly recommend removing them. Most radios, unless you're running like a Bofang, is not going to fit in there with it. Any radio like that was Motorola, but Harris radios, like full-size radios this size, not the Harris military ones, like the law enforcement ones, will fit in here no problem. So figure out which one works for you. If for whatever reason you're running a larger radio, I would recommend getting either the singles or the duals, and that way it would look something like this, and you'd have a little bit more room in there to put it in. But in this situation, you are going to insert the radio in this little elastic piece. If you want to run your Taser, the radio retention tabs will also retain a Taser. I've seen lots of people do it. I've actually never ran a Taser operationally. I'm not qualified on the newest Taser Gen 7s, but for the older ones, I was running it in there. Easy enough. You just insert it again. I would recommend though not getting the triple. I would recommend getting the dual. So here we go. Pick what side you want. Remove the MP2 insert. Now I'm going to insert the radio retention tab. I personally like to keep it where the knot for the shock cord is on the back. You're going to adjust what level of height you want on here, but I basically make the Velcro flush so it looks like that. I'll show that up there. And then insert the front, same thing. So the hook goes to the loop and the loop goes to the hook. I'll hold this up here. Hopefully you can see it there. There's the front, there's the back. You can see the knot right there. And again, you can adjust this, cut it, and burn it once you have the retention that you want. All it is elastic shock cord. So once I get this in there, now the hard part. I'd highly recommend cutting some piece of cardboard. Doesn't have to be thick stuff, thin stuff, whatever, even a piece of paper works. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of cardboard on the front and put a piece of cardboard on the back. And what this is doing is covering up the hook and loop so you're not fighting it the whole time you're trying to insert this, this little attachment. I'm going to then take the plate carrier here, the chest rig. I'm going to then slide it in while covering up that hook and loop like I was talking about. Slide it in until I get basically where I want the ride height. Again, you can adjust the ride height slightly with this. Once I have it, for this case, I'm just going to push it all the way down so it's maxed out at the bottom. Most of you guys have never known what that feels like. Sorry, my jokes suck. But insert that. Once I have that all the way in the bottom, all right, I'm just gonna slide out these pieces of cardboard, and I didn't have to fight the hook and loop at all, right? So essentially I inserted that. It's completely in there. It's nice and well retained in there, and I didn't have to sit there and keep pulling at the Velcro. So that's a little pro tip for that. Once I have this in there now, I can insert my, for YouTube's purposes, plastic things. And then I would insert the radio. So in this instance, I've got the push-to-talk up here. This is running for like a headset. So I would just hook that on there, clip that in. Now I'm going to pull the tab all the way to one side. Ideally pull the tab obviously to the side where you don't have a cord coming up. So in this case, I'm pulling it up in this direction. Pull it up here, insert the radio. Bring the radio all the way down to the bottom. Take the radio retention tab, pull it up. And then for me, I like to put it over the channel adjustment, but again, you can put it over the volume control, whatever you want. You can put it over the antenna if you wanted, makes no difference. I put it here, and then there you have it. So I've essentially installed the radio retention tab on the radio. All right, now, maybe your job's cooler than me, and you're jumping out of planes, and you're like, hey man, like the MP2s have pretty good retention, but you know, maybe you're jumping out of planes and you want to retain those. Again, you can put these on magazines as well as a taser, all right? The only thing I recommend for the taser is making sure that you adjust where it sits on the taser so you're not accidentally engaging, or I'm sorry, disengaging the taser safety. Obviously, we all know if you would disengage the taser safety, all you have to do is pull the trigger down and it's gonna shoot, or more importantly, you're giving out a light ND and laser at the bottom of your kit now. So if that does get bumped, that safety gets depressed, you're gonna have a flashlight poking out the bottom here, which I obviously would not recommend. So if you are putting it on a taser, I'd recommend, first of all, following your department's policies and procedures. Make sure you can't just blame me, hey, Dan on Soileater said to do it, right? So make sure you, Jack, I'm talking to you, man. But make sure you adjust it so that it's not disengaging that safety, all right? So hopefully this video helped you guys, a relatively short one, but I hope you got some value out of it. The radio retention tabs are sold in one single, so if you purchase one, you're getting one radio retention tab. It's got the both sides with the one pull tab and one shock cord on there. If you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs or send me a message. Have a good night.